What up, everybody? This is your host. Seems to be a common occurrence where Oren and Sahal are nowhere to be seen. It's Aiden Moss. Manny Rao, with his out of the good graces of his heart, is joining us once again. It's Sunday afternoon, early evening, and on the east side, we just watched the Brooklyn Nets pretty much handle the Toronto Raptors. 116-103 was the final score. And this looked like a case of two superstars putting their emphasis on the game. And our team not being able to pull it together. Manny Rao's got some technical difficulties. So now it's just me and my thoughts and you, the chat group, with all of your questions. And I will do my best to give you the answers. Toronto Raptors look good early on. They had their defense kind of going. Offensively, they were putting in buckets where they could. It felt like one of those games that we were going to kind of just grind this out and slow them down. The Nets have had trouble scoring all year. Harden hasn't looked the same. We played well early on. Siakam looked okay. Everything was going well. And then the third quarter comes along and we just totally fall apart. 35-17 in the quarter. We kind of we lost our juice, as they say. I think Alvin said that a couple times. Lost our juice, and it was a tough one. It kind of felt like maybe it was just because I'm hungover, Sunday, but it felt like the Raptors were hungover, if you know what I mean. Like they didn't have that added energy. It fell off right away. Yo, Manny, what's up?
Okay, I hope that this is gonna work because the Wi-Fi is really, really bad here. So I'm using my phone hotspot, and let's hope that it holds up because, God, this is this is crazy.
You're sounding good to me right now.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know if you can hear it through my voice. I might go insane. I might go Hulk Hogan on somebody right now. But anyways, it's all good. It's all good. We're good.
All good.
Thanks, guys.
So, Manny, give me some of your thoughts on the game. I was just kind of rambling there solo until you got back.
Yeah. Praise, Manny. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. So basically, I think the thing that stood out to me a lot was the third quarter was just not a good quarter for the Raptors. Ultimately, they only scored, I don't think they scored more than 20 points in that quarter. And ultimately, 17 points. And they did not shoot the three ball well at all. The one match I would like to see more is Svi on Harden. I think Svi did a decent job on Harden. I would like to see more of that. But ultimately, man, I don't know. That was a tough game. That was a weird game. I honestly don't get it. The Raptors are still not. They're still a better road team than they are our home team.
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying earlier when you left, like this is going to happen with a young team when you don't have your go-to guy established. Brooklyn looked out of sorts as well, but then Durant just fucking sticks whatever he needs to stick, and then Harden did the same thing in the fourth quarter, and that's what makes them a championship caliber team. The only guy sticking for us was Gary Trent Jr. He seemed to be the only guy that could really create something out of nothing. And when we're not, and I don't know, in the third quarter especially, we all just they all went into their individual. They went individualistic. Let's say, we watched OG kind of just dribble around. Freddie did the same thing. And there wasn't any flow or rhythm anymore. And I don't know if that was fatigue or disinterest. It was a very lackluster kind of energy on the floor. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Except for Gary. Gary had the energy. Good point.
Gary had the juice, but I mean, I thought so. Here's how the game went to me. I thought they started out the game really well. I thought, they were great. Pascal, he provided what the Raptors were missing at that point. But then all of a sudden, in the third quarter, they closed out the first half great too, by the way. But then the third quarter started, the second half started, and all of a sudden they looked disinterested, like you said. and I don't know what it was. I don't know why they started the game off that way, but I mean, there was a couple times too where, and this isn't Boucher. What I'm about to say about him, it's not a reflection of how the whole game went, but he definitely looked disinterested. That he definitely didn't look like he was really interested in you know flowing with the team. That was at least my opinion on it. That was my take on it. But ultimately, yeah, I think what it comes down to is just getting used to Pascal being there. Um, he wasn't there the entire first 10 This is the 10th game I think for the Raptors now, or 11th game.
Yeah.
And so I mean, ultimately his presence is going to be something that I have to get used to.
Top Shot Tesla, thank you for the
Thank you.
donation. Why leave Mills? Yeah, good question. Mills is a sniper. Bembry hates shooting the three, although he hit one in the first half, and it was like, dude, where was that last year, man? You're killing us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, on the
Seriously.
Bembry note, his Spider-Man hang dunk is the coolest thing in the league. I swear to God, it's the only player I can think of that actually has a signature dunk. And he does it every time. He crams, and then he kind of does a little somersault over his head and lands. It's the sweetest thing. I love that about Bembry. But
I didn't even see that one. That's
oh man,
interesting though.
that was when we had, and this another part of the Raps was our, like, defensively, our closeouts were just horrible. I'm not going to harp on Pascal. Pascal gets a free pass today, but twice he just kind of like lumbered over to the far corner and jumped and was sold on a pass or a shot fake so easily. And then in other times, we were slow to recover on Blake Griffin, who killed us from three. Like Patty Mills had a
Yeah.
couple of open buckets. Like, and this is the fine line for the Toronto Raptors is if we're not tight on defense, and if our 3-pointers aren't falling, if we're not passing the ball like quickly and thoughtfully, then things fall apart real quickly. And especially with potent players like Harden and Durant, you're going to lose control of the game um, more
Yeah.
yeah, more quickly
Yeah.
than you'd like.
Especially when you consider these are two of the greatest. They're not the greatest offensive players ever, but two of the greatest offensive players ever to play the game. I mean, Durant can score from anywhere on the court, and that I think there was one shot that OG was guarding him, or maybe it was Scotty, but he didn't. He airballed it, which I was thinking to myself, "Wow, that was amazing." And then there was another part of the game where Scotty actually had a step around Durant. It was almost like a Euro step, but
Yeah.
it was on his way to a basket, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. And I mean, you see these runs that they go on, and it's just maintaining, playing the 48 minutes to the fullest extent. This game was a great example of what happens when they let their foot off the pedal.
Yeah.
If Friday against Cleveland was not, then this game definitely was, because they had a 7-point lead at halftime, and then Brooklyn went on I think a 6-0 run, and the Raptors called a timeout right after that. They started the third quarter was terrible for them. They started it out, I believe, 0 for 4, and they just had no answer to Kevin Durant. Uh,
Yeah.
it was weird. It was really weird, and it was lackluster.
The Cleveland
So
example is great. Like fourth quarter, same thing, that they just kind of took their foot off the gas. Same thing in this game. I want to go to two notes here, and Tom Miro mentioned, Barnes struggles with Siakam in the game, and I think that might be the case, that they kind of play a similar style in that mid range. And in the restricted area, and so they might be a little bit crowded. So that might take Scotty some time. And Abby made this point, which is true. Like in the first half, Scotty truly shined. You mentioned the 2 buckets he had early. He had that
hmm
like sweet
hmm
fadeaway jumper that where his mechanics looked way smoother and much smoother and more natural. But he was just aggressive. He was everywhere. And then second half, he totally disappeared. And
yeah.
he did have foul trouble. He had 4 fouls early, which didn't help. I don't think I would have played the tradition or the conservative approach there and taken him out and not putting him back so late in the fourth. Like I think I would have just let him play through it. Boucher and Svi, which we'll get to, out there with 6 minutes left is not what we want.
Definitely.
So that really hurt us having Barnes just kind of disappear, and it was very unnatural for him.
Yeah, I agree, and it was definitely, I think, a matter of foul trouble that Nurse was worried about, but I think he should have played most of the fourth quarter, if not all of it,
I don't think he
because
came into like 4 minutes left or something.
yeah, and that's not okay because at the end of the day, you got guys like Kevin Durant, James Harden. Kevin Durant particularly is where Scotty is really effective because of his length. You got guys that can guard KD. Well, that can't necessarily guard him because nobody can really stop Kevin Durant. Let's not forget about that. But when it comes to who's most effective at disrupting his shot attempts and his offensive flow, I mean, you got two guys that are great prototypes for it, and OG and OG and Scotty. So I think that I think that him not playing more, he should have played at least 38 minutes tonight, especially given the fact that he's playing Kevin Durant. So that's something that I think was a missed opportunity, and even foul trouble. I agree with you. Even if there is foul trouble, whatever. Play him till he fouls out. This isn't, a game where the stakes are that high. Like this is hey, you're gonna win this game or you're gonna lose this
I
game.
agree.
It's still early in the season. Let him make the mistakes that he needs to and let him play it out.
And that's a positive we can take from this was the OG and Barnes on Durant and Harden was like teams would die to have that kind of pairing to play against those two superstars, and it worked early. Harden wasn't doing anything. I think Barnes started on Harden, interestingly, and OG on KD. KD started cooking, and they switched that. I mean, Durant's going to get, what did he have? He had 28 on 10 of. Oh no, that was Harden. Durant had 31 on 11 of 18. He's going to get his. That's fine, but making him work for it. Harden had a better second half, but the first half he really struggled, and like we have some of the best defenders for that. So defensively early on, that was promising. That's like something we can take from it. Top Shot Tesla with another donation. Cheers, man. Those toonies go a long way. I can get a vitamin water with that.
Thank you. Yes,
Barnes and Siakam operating similar space. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's really hard to see either of them not starting. And not having them overlap. Like I feel like that's just an inevitability, and that's going to be Siakam looked flat-footed tonight. He, obviously, right? He's going to lose his explosion. Or he's lost his explosiveness, and that'll come back. And so I think that hampered how Barnes can operate around him. I think when Siakam's back to his playmaking capabilities, that's going to open up for Barnes, and I think they will be able to play together, but that's further down the road. And I think maybe starting Siakam tonight was a little premature.
I think so too.
Think, Manny?
Yeah. I was thinking that they were going to bring him off the bench. I do want to touch on a point with Scotty and Siakam after like this last little bit, but I agree. They should. I thought they were going to bring Siakam off the bench.
Yeah, and I guess that's the Birch injury was part of that, but I would have done something a little bit different, like even start Boucher. Like Boucher is basically in the doghouse. His confidence seems to be at a low. Like, why not start him, see if he can get something going early, and then bring Siakam on with Precious as kind of like a front court, take Barnes off and Boucher off. Like, I think I saw some stuff on Twitter about some criticism about some of Nurse's decisions. What do we have here? Doesn't want to Scotty and
very Precious.
Yeah, I agree. I think like there were some interesting. I'll get to that, Ned, but there were some interesting rotation choices with who was playing what minutes and when. Like again, we didn't really see Banton in the second half, and when we did, it wasn't like the ideal lineup where there was no playmakers on the court. Offensively, we weren't going to the pick and roll, and when we were, it worked. Those are the two videos I want to look at for film. So this kind of felt like Nurse just didn't really put out his best tonight. Did you get a feel for that, Manny?
I think that so what I thought was, he was trying out different things because, Nick Nurse is going to experiment whenever he wants because that's how he plays. He's an innovator of basketball in a lot of ways. He wants to try and create a style and he wants to try and the Raptors want to try and establish their own style in a lot of ways. And so I think that if they're going to do that, there is a way I see Scotty and Pascal coexisting in a starting lineup, and that would be having Scotty bring up the ball with Pascal operating in the paint. I think that you have Fred on the wing, and I know it's going to be a little skeptical. Some people might not agree with that because Fred is the primary ball handler. But remember, Scotty played point guard in college, and he definitely can play point guard in the NBA from what we've seen in these first 11 games from him. So I think that would be a really cool thing seeing a Scotty and Pascal Siakam pick and roll, screen and roll game. I think that would be deadly.
Yeah, I do think we got a tweet here from that Chris is throwing up. Nurse liked Barnes' defense, but thought he wasn't aggressive on offense. A lot of East West driving. Yeah, I'm like, and maybe he got shy from the 4 fouls. I'm not sure. Early on, that didn't seem to be a problem. He was kind of everywhere. He got early offensive rebound. That was an interesting. We got out rebounded 51-40, 12 to
and the
8
offensive boards too.
12 to 8 on offensive boards, which is very unusual for us, especially with Brooklyn. Who the hell is out rebounding us? Blake Griffin?
That's literally who it was. Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge.
Blake
and then they
had 4 offensive rebounds.
Points. Second chance points too were terrible. Second chance points 14-9.
Yeah. So James Harden had 5 offensive rebounds as well, interestingly. But I agree with Darren here. Like that was kind of my point earlier. Is this rebounding for us is so integral, and it does kind of represent. Sometimes bounces just go the wrong way, whatever. But generally speaking, it kind of seemed to represent that our energy was much lower. I'd be interested to see first half, second half contrast on some of those hustle stats because it just kind of felt like we died right off.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that ultimately, man, it's the first half. If I'm going to be general about it, the first half, the Raps did a really great job setting their own pace, and they also did their really great job, dictating the pace of the game. I thought they guarded Harden well up until that point, and I think it was the fourth quarter. Harden got his first 3-pointer because he was 0 for 8 or 0 for 7 before that, and then the second half is ultimately what killed them, without a question. So,
I think I was going to say earlier is I just want more pick and roll. I'm not a pick and roll, like I'm not obsessed with it or anything. In fact, it can be really boring. But you brought up like a Siakam Barnes pick and roll. Like there's so many possibilities to do inverted pick and rolls and different kinds. The two, like we'll get into it, but just like, OG Siakam, OG Barnes, Barnes Fred, like all those guys, we can create so many mismatches because we have these unique body types like Pascal, like Barnes, like OG, who are big, long, agile, and can pass to some degree. Like there's so much opportunity there, and I just don't see it. I saw you tweeted earlier, like post play, again, no Barnes down low, no OG down low, and I feel
this was a perfect game for that.
Totally right. Like there's no interior defense with this Brooklyn team, and so again, I'm kind of like leaning towards like blaming Nurse in this one. It's just like it's almost like he didn't adapt to the team in front of him offensively, at least.
Yeah, I would agree with that because you have a team where the thing about Brooklyn too is they are last in the league at points in the paint, and so the Raptors, knowing that, should have seen an opportunity there to attack the paint constantly. I think that if they had done that, this game, the outcome might have been different. But at the end of the day, I mean, it all comes down to this is a developing team. We constantly need to remind ourselves of that because we've been spoiled watching this team through the first 11 games going, they're now 6-5, I believe. So, I it's tough, but those are the kind of things you look for is seeing OG in the post, seeing Scotty in the post, and Pascal. He's coming back, in one of the places he's most comfortable operating is in the post.
Mm.
So I think that this was a missed opportunity for the Raptors to have taken advantage of that as Brooklyn's lack of interior presence.
Yeah. No. I saw something. Darren, you mentioned the Steve Nash dribble. No, Top Shot mentioned the Steve Nash dribble. I was saying this earlier. Like Fred's been doing a better job of it, but I'd like to see more of him being more directionally decisive with his dribbles. Like instead of kind of this like curving around, and he has been doing a better job of it. I think like that's one thing that's been encouraging about Fred is he is starting to get into the paint and create a lot more. But I just wanted to highlight this because I've been saying this forever. Like Fred gets himself stuck in these corners, and so it's a good insight by Top Shot.
I
Manny, how
think,
did you feel?
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think so quickly on that point. I think Fred, his intention is to try and draw defenders, but I think he does like oftentimes people just forget about him because he's 6 foot going into the paint against like a 7 footer.
Yeah,
He is strong though, I will say that, but I don't know if he
he,
can go toe to toe with a 7 footer right
he
there.
had more challenge at the rim today. He missed one little leaner that he's got to hit those. And yeah, he wasn't in the mid range as much today. How did you
Oh, who's that guy?
feel? What's that?
Nothing. I was just saying, who's that guy?
How did you feel about Precious? Oh,
Precious,
Kyle.
I,
Kyle, what the hell,
Precious.
man?
Yeah, I
you
was
can
gonna
go
say,
on here, but you can't talk live.
get up
I
here.
get
What are
it.
you doing?
I get it,
So,
man.
I thought Precious looked. So there was. Okay, I should have timestamped this, but there is a point where Precious. There was like it was a hockey assist from Fred to Pascal, to Precious, and Precious was just coming. There was no play run for him or anything. He was cutting into the paint, and the ball ended up in his hands, and he dunked it. And so I thought that was a really good possession for him, and I thought that that's the kind of that's the kind of player, that's the kind of stuff we need to see from him more is when things aren't necessarily run for him and when he's not trying to establish the offense himself. That's the kind of energy we need from Precious, I thought.
Yeah.
And I thought he had a great game tonight. I thought he had good energy for the Raps. I thought he was one of the brightest spots for Toronto tonight because of his ability to hit things in rhythm and not need to stop the ball and not need to go one on one. I love that the ball didn't stop with him, and I like that a lot, and that's what I want to see more of from him.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of forget the bigger picture here that all of these guys are learning new roles, but B, learning how
Yeah,
to be more impactful players, right? Like no one wants Precious to be Reggie Evans or the junkyard
no,
dog, right? Like we want him to grow. And he's trying to figure that out the same way OG is trying to figure it out. And he did too much early on in the season and he's dialing it back. Tom thinks Precious is awful. I'd say like, pump the brakes a little bit. I think that
yeah,
there's a lot of potential, and you're seeing now, especially in this game, both. He had a couple of drives where he was like a lot more patient, and he just had he had a nice little leaner. He's
yeah.
not looking to jack the three all the time. What was he? He was 1 for 2 from three, which is fine.
That's great.
Um, but running him in the pick and roll like this is like that's kind
It's
of it's the
great.
same thing with Barnes. It's like rather than have him try and create an isolation, have him in the actions where he can kind of start making decisions where he's already in space.
Yeah, lead him
That
to the
was the
basket.
jumper there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, he's forgotten his roots, which is being the energy guy. So that was what I was going to get back to is that like we do need him to be like, especially with Kem out, we need him doing the dirty little things. And I feel like he's forgotten that part of his game a little bit. This seems like a good time to do a little bit of advertising. Our sponsor this year, as I'm sure many of you are aware, is Can-Am CPA, which is a full-service small business accounting and tax firm with an experienced and friendly staff that can help you navigate a pick and roll better than Bruce Bowen. How about that? They also provide personal tax preparation and can recover the refunds that you're entitled to. Don't leave that money on the table. If you have questions about your personal taxes, reach out. They'd be happy to help out the Raptor community. You can find them on Google in the review section, or you can visit them at www.canamtax.com. Manny, who was your tax man of the night?
Okay, I always do this wrong, but I'm gonna try and do it right again. My tax man of the night, I'm gonna give it to. I'm looking at the stats right now. Sorry. I'm gonna give it to. I'm gonna give it to Scotty.
Okay.
I think Scotty was a good tax man. He probably came the closest that we've seen in a while for a Toronto Raptor getting a quadruple double tonight. He helped out and he contributed in multiple categories. You got to have multiple revenue streams coming in,
right.
as we all know.
Oh, there's the analogy. Love it.
And there it is. So he had 8 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, and 5 steals. Yeah, he's getting a lot of income, and he's being taxed on all of it. So there's my tax man of the night, is Scotty the Savior Barnes.
That's good. I'm going to go with Precious Achiuwa. I just think he deserves some recognition tonight. I feel like he did play one of his stronger games. Yeah, you want I don't know what the analogy is for taxes, but whatever. I was happy to see him play a little bit better tonight. Someone in the chat groups can give me a metaphor for his tax for how it equates to taxes. I'm not one for that, but
you could say he was cost efficient. Maybe
he was.
13
he was a lot more
and 8
efficient than he was
in less than in 27 minutes. So
yeah, he went through the depths of the Tax Act and found some statute that enabled him to be more efficient. So
absolutely.
Let's transition to some film breakdown. Ooh, Tom with the burn.
Ooh, okay.
All right,
Tom
we
does
found
not
our
agree
hater
with
on
us tonight.
Precious.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Film breakdown. Chris, what do we got first? Oh, this is mine. Okay, so I have the pick and rolls, which is what I just wanted to talk about. That Brooklyn was ripe for the breakdowns, for pick and roll breakdowns. Aldridge is the receiving guy. Like, what the hell is Aldridge going to like? Freddie could have very easily pulled up there for 3. Patty Mills goes over. Harden's not going to help out because Harden's lazy as shit. And Bembry was stuck with Boucher. So we could have been doing this all day, and we just didn't. We chose not to, and I feel like that was really frustrating. Watching the game and not seeing this opportunity come by. Chris, do we have the other pick and roll that we had? You can message me in private. Yeah.
The other thing they could do there is the other thing that was cool. Well, we'll move on, but yeah, I thought Svi. The other thing that would have been cool is if Precious passed it to Svi in that situation, but I think he had it in the dunk, so it was not bad at all.
Yeah. So here we have it again with this Boucher and Van Vliet. So Boucher goes on the inside, which is kind of interesting, but it's perfect for the roll, and Boucher has the finish there. But this is what I'm talking about. So who do we got? We got Harden on ball, so that already, and then you got Aldridge, who's got cement for feet. Svi has a great backdoor cut there. He's a great cutter, man. Svi is fine space.
I thought that there was, in this particular play, I don't know, I don't like the spacing so much necessarily because you got Gary, OG, and Svi all on one side.
Yeah, but that's the point, right? So look at all of that whole left side is wide open.
Yeah, it's wide open. Yeah.
Boucher comes on the roll. There's nobody to bump him. Patty Mills has to come all the way over. So if Svi stays in the corner, he's there for the pop. or he gets the little backdoor there if Boucher is a little bit quicker with the choice. Either way, they got the foul. So like those are two very obvious examples of how the pick and roll could have just utterly picked this team apart, and we just didn't. We chose not to. Whatever. I'm not the brains behind this operation. Nick Nurse is a genius. He deserves all the credit. Who am I to say? But I just feel like we could have done a lot more of this. They're just easy wins, you know, especially when scoring is so hard for us to come by. They're easy wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, that's what I love about Nurse is he's very
Sorry, that's
unorthodox.
Siakam. I don't know why I said Boucher. That's Siakam.
Oh, okay, it's okay. But that's what I love about Nurse is that he's so willing to try out different lineups, and I think that it's good to see that because you're not playing. There's no traditional style of basketball anymore. Everything is completely, arbitrary at this point. It's just a matter of creating a team that is great with chemistry, a team that like knows each other well, a team that communicates, a team that works so well together is like so hard to put together these days. But that's why I love Nick Nurse, man.
Well, and you watch, but another point of this pick and roll is like you watch Fred play 40 minutes. All the viewers were mentioning this. Like Fred's obviously exhausted. Pick and roll is an easy one, right? Like it takes so much energy off of you because it automatically creates space, and it allows him to make decisions without the defense just all collapsing in on him. And so I'm frustrated by that. Chris, enough of the pick and roll. I can't handle it anymore. Manny, you're up.
So is this mine? Is this mine right here?
I don't know what you got. Oh,
all right. Well,
I think I requested this as well. This is a defense package with Barnes.
That would have been. I mean, honestly, that would have been really nice to see OG and Scotty connect on that. But
yeah, but it's more just this defense. Like Barnes is 3/4 court, picking up one of the best ball handlers in NBA history. Who's granted maybe a little bit slower right now. But it's just incredible. It's incredible defense, dude. Oh, another thing I was going to say, coffee's finally kicking in. Let's go. I was going to say the full court press we had in the end of the fourth quarter was so fun. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, why don't we throw Boucher, Banton, whoever, Malachi, and run like some press early in the game just to mix it up, just to break things up. And Barnes, obviously Barnes is bought in. I know not everybody wants to run a press on a team and you don't want to exhaust your guys, but why not for a couple of possessions and see what happens? Like every time we do it, we get these turnovers. It's so fun to watch.
I think it's a good tactic to use too. Because you kind of saw them go towards more of like and it was like 2 or 3 straight plays in a row where they did that full court press. And it was really effective. And, this is kind of like the full court press is great. And it plays to the length of this team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree with you on that. They should do way more of these full court presses. The half court we know is kind of, it's a smaller area for them to cover. So I think that the defensive potential in the half court is enormous. But
or even the full half court traps, even if you don't want to run a full court scheme, right? Like meet them right at the center line.
But the thing is too is look at the way Scotty's defending him too, and it's his hands are not even out in front as much at first when he's guarding Harden because he knows Harden's going to try and lean into that for something, even though the refs aren't falling for it as much anymore. But the way Scotty guards him is like he just has his feet, and it's all it's everything is the footwork. It's all about the footwork. He's staying in front of Harden, and if Harden decides that he's going to speed up, Scotty definitely speeds up with him. Yeah, I mean, this is amazing to see because, I mean, it's just great to see that there's a guy like that in the league that's able to stay in front of, one of the best one-on-one players in the game.
I don't know if you know David Thorpe. He writes for True Hoop. He goes on Zach Lowe's podcast sometime, and he tweeted. He said he's never seen a high pick guy like this who plays to exhaustion. right? Like, and that's a rare thing, a rare trait for an NBA player to actually play until you're exhausted. And he said the last player he saw like that, and he's a little biased because he's a Florida guy, but it was Noah. Joakim
Oh,
Noah?
was it really? Joakim Noah.
Joakim.
Joakim.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
Joakim. Yeah, because he was an
And like,
elevator. Yeah.
and that's a good comparison too. Like Noah's slower, he's longer, he's more of like a post defense, but the long hustle, like doesn't give up kind of tenacious defense, like very similar. So ultimate compliment to get that kind of praise from Coach Thorpe, and that kind of comparison.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing too, is when you're long like that and when, you have a motor like that. Like I remember Joakim Noah in those, early 2010s in Chicago. And, he was a lot of the times relied on more than, you would rely on your center. And he was limited in a lot of ways, but, there were so many different ways that he was able to facilitate the offense and also penetrate the defense. And he was absolutely amazing for that Bulls teams. For those Bulls teams, I think 2 years in a row, he just outplayed himself completely.
Yeah. Well, if Rose doesn't get injured, they probably go to the finals. So
Exactly. Yeah,
this
possibly.
Chris, you can throw this up. This is beautiful. This is quintessential
Oh,
Boucher right now.
this is the one this is the one I requested. Oh my
Okay,
god.
go
So
for it.
this is wow. And I'm not even talking about just the play in itself, but like, okay, so number one, Scotty is telling Boucher to cut, right?
Twice.
Twice. He's done it twice now. And Boucher decides, no, I'm going to hang out on the perimeter. So that's number one. That's like, you shouldn't do that. Like he should have cut. I don't know why he didn't cut, but anyway, maybe it was because he was scared he couldn't post up on LaMarcus Aldridge, which I understand because Boucher is not a guy that really intimidates people with his size. But okay, this speaks a little bit more to me in terms of what may be going on in the locker room, because that's not a good way to build chemistry. It's terrible chemistry building because you got a guy in Scotty who's playing 30 plus minutes and he's a rookie, but maybe Boucher feels a little, I don't know, maybe he feels a
Dude, this
little
is
slighted
Barnes'
because of
team.
that.
Buy the
And
fuck in or buy the fuck out, right?
this
Like
is right. But see, that's the thing is Boucher doesn't see it that way. At least in this play, I'm not getting those vibes from him where he's seeing it that way. So the problem here is that Boucher is not playing very well this year. And on top of that, he's deciding to, actively and, persistently ignore the playmakers calls, which you shouldn't be. I just can't believe he did that. I cannot believe he ignored Scotty twice.
here's the best part.
I don't know. I don't know if it's an ego thing,
the
but
look at the personnel on the floor. It's Gary Trent Jr., shooter, OG, shooter, Freddie, shooter, and then Barnes with the ball. So Boucher is the last guy you want to be giving the ball on the perimeter, right? And so if
exactly,
the
yeah.
guy's telling you to cut through to get to the weak side or whatever, which ironically you might get a pass in the corner off a Barnes drive. Like that's the irony with guys who want the ball all the time, is that like if you actually buy into a system and you do cut and you do give up the ball, you will eventually get it back and you'll be in a better spot to score, right? Like him just sidling off there and calling for the ball with LaMarcus Aldridge like one step away is not going to help him, Boucher, as a player, score more, right? And so it's like,
Not at
yeah,
all.
like you said, like you got to recognize where you are, dude, and who you're playing with. And it's just like, you're the big man on the floor right now. What are you doing hanging out there? So
I think he's just so. I think that rule that he had last year, because the Raps were forced to, because the Raps were forced to lean on him
overrated.
so much
Poutine's
last year.
overrated.
Poutine, it depends on where it's from, but we're gonna get back to Boucher right now. I
Right.
think the thing is with him is he was so used to last year, and I hate that most of the time I've gone to this, but last year he was relied on so much that he's still stuck in that role that he had in Florida, and he still has yet to realize that his role is not the same that it was last year. His role is more defined now, and he's almost trying to carve himself out of it into a new role, but the coaching staff set in what they expect from him. And I can't, if he's gonna do things like this, I can't see him in the rotation for much longer. I don't know. I don't know how, and we all know the Raptors, the organization doesn't cater to players. You know what I
No,
mean?
no.
So I don't know. I think it's just a matter of time before he falls out of the rotation. I just can't see him if he can't play well. Like, we have guys like guys like Precious, guys like Pascal's back now. Utah's gonna be back. That's your four-headed, and it's not really a monster, but that's your four-headed uh front court without question.
Yeah, I think everybody's saying Boucher's gonna get traded, and he does make sense. We've talked about this before. Like, he needs to get paid. I understand he wants to shine, but again, like, the irony here is he's making himself look worse, and he's making himself less valuable on the market
Absolutely, he
by
is.
not buying in, and then he's also lessening his trade value. And I think he has a spot on this team. Honestly, like, his length and athleticism when he is focused defensively is like near elite when he's truly bought in, and he hasn't really showed that this year. So it's like I almost forget what it's like. Um, yeah, I don't know if Boucher should ever be high usage on any team. I don't, but I
No,
think,
no.
I think to your point, Top Shot Tesla, is that like I think Boucher definitely thinks that, and that is part of the problem here.
Yeah, and again, I think it all goes back to, this is more so an issue like within himself, not understanding what his role is. But at the same time, it doesn't help. I think part of what is happening is the Raptors are seeing, yeah, you know what, we do have to play him because everybody. It's almost like everybody's thought, yeah, Boucher is probably going to be traded at the deadline, and this is counteractive of what the Raptors could possibly do at the trade deadline, is try and trade him. His value is sinking as he plays, but they're hoping that it'll go up if they continue to play him more. So, I mean, it's overall, it's a small cog in the overall engine, but at the same time, man, this is just not. Oh, this is frustrating as hell. This is frustrating, man.
I was gonna ask the viewers, has anybody thought about Boucher trade ideas? I haven't really thought about where he could go to help a team. Dallas kind of actually does make sense. They need kind of a pick and pop kind of dude to replace, or like to give the Luka more space. I don't know if anybody else has been thinking about where Boucher would go that makes sense for the Raptors, but
He would have a bigger
um,
role on Dallas, that's for sure.
yeah, there are plenty of trades out there. I'm not saying there aren't. I'm just saying I haven't really thought about it. He would. The thing with Boucher is he would really make sense everywhere. Like his profile as a player when his shot is going, which it hasn't been this year. He can fit in almost any kind of roster, except ironically ours, where we have a plethora of like athletic fours. Like, teams would die for that kind of luxury.
I could see
Um,
him. I could see
Miami,
him
yeah.
possibly going to Miami.
But what's Miami giving up? That's the thing.
Well, I don't know. I have no idea. That's the thing.
Max
But I
Strus,
mean, I don't know, man. I
give
think
us some shooting.
it's so weird
Dirt
because
seven.
I could definitely see him being useful on a contender, but that's with the condition that he's bought in to their system and bought into the fact that you know he is a role player. I don't
Yeah,
know if he truly believes that yet. So I'm kind of nervous. I don't know if that's like a matter of something that is personal within himself. If that's like some sort of an attitude issue, but you know,
I don't know. I think Boucher's response will just be like this, which where's his camera, which he gave to Sahal. Just thumbs up. I'm good, man.
yeah, just thumbs
Fuck
up.
Miles Leonard. Myers Leonard. He's out of the league as he should be. Uh, Moving on. We had a tweet from Siakam, or this tweet from Michael Grange about Siakam. He said he was tired 3 minutes in. Man, if you, I'm sure lots of you guys play ball. Even if you've been jogging or kind of like getting warm, when you're in game, when you're playing in the game, the oxygen level just like leaves you like that, and you are just so tired, and it is so hard to get legs under you for shooting. It's so hard to make decisions when you're just thinking about breathing. It's so hard to make rotations on defense. And you saw that, like I mentioned earlier, he closed out twice where he literally just lazily jumped past the shooter and hoped for the best. So the fact that he played 25 minutes is quite impressive. And again, I think a Nurse mistake. I don't think he should have played 25 minutes if he's tired 3 minutes in. And I don't think he should have started if he's getting tired 3 minutes in. But
I thought on my pregame this morning, I said he was going to play maybe 10 to 15 minutes. I thought he was going to play 10 to 15 minutes, and I thought they were going to bring him off the bench, but
he played 25. He
minutes.
did shoot pretty well. He was 5 for 12, 4 for 5 free throws, 0 turnovers. He missed those gimmies down low, which is like, I was getting like PTSD from all of those little gimmies where he like yells. He's like, and he misses. Like that's yeah. But anyway, Pascal gets a free pass the next couple of games. So, I like this one. Yeah, Jalen Smith is getting no time in Phoenix. He makes a lot of sense there. That's a really good one. I don't know how I feel about Jalen Smith, but why not bring him over here, send him to the 905, and that's the thing. We kind of need guys who don't deserve roster time. You know, we have too many guys who deserve time right now. We need to kind of like choose who our 9 are and then go from there.
We need to get Jeremy Lin and Jody Meeks back.
No, we don't.
They don't. They won't play. They won't play at all.
True. Any more thoughts, Manny, from this Sunday afternoon affair? The goat yell. No, I really didn't want to say it, Kareem, but it really does. Sounds like a donkey braying or like a goat yell. Like, But yeah.
I think that ultimately the Raps just lost to the better team tonight. You know, when it comes down to it, Brooklyn has 2 guys that are just they were named, you know, on the 75th anniversary team, 75 greatest players. I mean, what else are you going to do? At that point, it's like the reality of this being a young, inexperienced team starts to kick in.
It's true. Blake Griffin's a top 75 player.
He is. Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, you know, they were at the club. They were in the club with KD and James Harden. So I don't know. I think you know, this is just a part of the process. Ultimately, you know, as we alluded to, post presence, like we would have liked to see more post action down low on Toronto's part. Attacking the paint would have been nice. You know, some decisions that Nurse made maybe questionable, but at the same time, I would never ever think that I know more than Nick Nurse, because Nick Nurse is a guru. So,
Christopher, we talked very slightly about the defensive rotations. That kind of tied into the low energy second half of not closing out properly, not even challenging shooters. Blake Griffin and getting way too many open threes. We did talk a little bit about that. Manny, to close, what were your bets today?
So I said that the Raptors would win, and the over-under was set at 12 or 212. I said go under that. I was 0 for 3. So, yeah, not good.
That's a stinger.
Not good. But the Raptors, their next game is against Boston on Wednesday. It's on the road again. It's kind of weird that they're the second time they're facing Boston. It's again in Boston, but nonetheless, they're a better road team than they are a home team. They're undefeated on the road still.
I'm a little bit worried about going into Boston. I feel like they're kind of figuring it out a little bit, and they lost a nail biter to Dallas that they shouldn't have lost. So I'm wary, but you're right. They're undefeated on the road. Who knows? Tom thinks we're going to crush them. We'll see. Manny, thanks for joining us. Everybody keep a lookout. Manny, you got anything to plug other than your lines?
Just, hey, take a look at the pregame that I do, the lineup. Like I said, the next game, like, Manny the gambler. I don't have any money to gamble, guys.
I was going to ask, do you put money down on your own picks? Do you put your money where your mouth is or no?
No, man. I got student loans to pay off, and I got phone bills and car payments to make. If
That's
I
what
have some
gambling's
extra
for, man.
change, if I have some like after night bar change that's in my pocket, why not? But yeah, that's not something I do. But at the same time, I do research these things because I can't just make these picks without researching. So yeah, I maybe use a coin. I don't even have a coin, dude. I don't have any change on me. I can't do that.
Hey, man, if
But
you're getting paid out
yeah,
on a 50% odds, that's not so bad.
it's not terrible.
Um,
But yeah, check out the lineup for
what's your
3
total
games.
record?
Total record right now is 15 and 18.
That's pretty good. If you're
That's not
betting the
bad.
right, if you're betting the right amounts at the right times, you could be up.
Exactly.
So
So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, but it's a process. My record is much like the Raptors in this situation, and we got to be patient. That's it. That's all we need.
that's
Just a
true.
little
It's
patience. That's
and
it.
gambling's all about the long run. It's peaks and valleys, and it's managing the valleys. Manny,
Exactly.
thanks for joining. I wanted to give a shout out and a huge thanks to our producer, Chris Howson-Jan. You're
Thanks,
great.
Chris.
Your tweets are awesome. He does the videos for Raptors Republic. You kept us going today. Oren and Sahel should be back for Wednesday. Those bastards are doing cooler and better things, maybe. I don't know, whatever. We don't need them, but they'll be back. I'm disappearing into the wilderness for the week, so I'll be gone for a little while. So we'll see y'all later. Thanks for joining. Everybody have a good Sunday night. Top Shot, thanks for all of your donations. Everybody else, if you're not donating, you can at least like. That's free and easy. We need those YouTube algorithms to put us to the very top of the Raptor world. Everybody have a good
Exactly.
night. Take care. Good night.